Nod research indicates the following. Humans in GDI-friendly territories are suffering respiratory problems in significant numbers. Tiberium also has a profound negative impact on human immune and reproductive systems. Still unknown is the extent to which Tiberium affects human DNA. Nod analysts predict 3 out of 5 humans will suffer Tiberium-related illnesses within the next 3 years. End transmission. Stand by.
Well done. You are truly becoming Kane's favorite. How would you like to ensure your place in the highest echelons of Nod? Surely you are ambitious enough to take on a mission of tremendous magnitude. Your goal is so secret, even Kane knows nothing of it yet. You see, power shifts quickly in the Brotherhood. I've taken the liberty of dispatching your troops to the US. Kane has been loath to attack America, but I feel that it's time, and that you're the one to do it. This is the Pentagon. A full frontal attack with your strongest forces should render their military center of operation.
Yes. Power shifts more quickly than some people think. I am Kane. When I get your troops back from the States, I want you to take what men you have left and secure this abandoned GDI base. Once in, build up an arsenal of weapons and use them to wipe out the remaining GDI presence. Oh, and congratulations on your promotion.
Welcome back, Commander. So, that was a thing.
Right away, sir.
I guess, Seth, I guess we're now the right-hand man of Kane.
Yes, sir.
Anyways, the mission today is quite annoying.
Moving out. Ready. Rod waiting.
The basic start of it, just to get right into it, is, well, as you've probably noticed, we only have infantry. As only having infantry, that also means that our line of sight is garbage, and we need to move to the right, as there's no other direction to go. Unbeknownst to us, there's the medium tank right there. People in the thread were mentioning how the medium tank kind of resembles the M1, and that the light tank's supposed to be like an M2 Bradley. If you look at the icons, that's pretty much what they're based on. Now, if the icons are supposed to be like a one-to-one accurate representation, I don't know. But for intents and purposes, yeah, that's like the comparison they're trying to make.
Yes. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Now, we're given a construction yard, a power plant, and barracks, or Hand of Nod.
Reporting.
You kind of just want to
Moving out.
sell the construction yard. You don't have any money, so you have to do something. And the construction yard, when you sell it, is almost guaranteed to give you an engineer, which you will need to do the following. So, you kind of need to have, at the start, your rocket soldiers in the northern part, so that you can kind of just shoot at the M1. God, I'm gonna keep calling it the M1 Abrams now. Shoot at the medium tank, just so that it doesn't drive towards you and runs over everybody, which has happened to me like twice. This is like the 5th attempt I do at this mission, so. In any case, you have to take your transport helicopter, basically called the Chinook in this game, and fly it over to the enemy base, drop your guys out, and capture what you can. Obviously, this also means that you're going to want to capture the refinery when it has a harvester in it, so that you can capture the harvester as well. Now, one of the problems I had on multiple runs is that, well, GDI have several grenadiers, and will all too happily blow up your helicopter and units. This also means that any units that you have stuck on the bottom right of the map are stuck there for good. So those 4 rocket soldiers, a couple infantry, and like a civilian, can't use them anymore. It's not the worst thing in the world, it's just really, really annoying.
Right away, sir.
Especially when you do this like 4 times.
Construction complete. New construction options.
Reporting.
Primary
Affirmative.
building selected. Building.
Affirmative.
Now for me, I prefer going with guard towers, just because it's one, it's defensive structure. We'll get to see more about it once we do the GDI campaign. But for the nod, you need something to defend, and you don't really have any other options. So.
Building.
So as with previous missions, when we're base building, best thing to do is just set up your harvesting and then go around to building your forces to attack with. Since you're going to be limited on what you have, I don't know, it's kind of why I tend to go with guard towers, just it's easier.
Ready and wait. Affirmative. Reporting.
I end up having to do this several times during the mission, speeding it up that is, because, well, some of these take quite a bit. Especially when, you know, I'm not gonna bother trying to
Building.
play the same mission over and over and over again just so I can get like the most optimal
Our
stuff.
base is under attack. Unit
Yes,
ready.
yes, sir.
It's just not really fun that way.
Construction complete. Unit lost. Building.
Now it's kind of hard to tell when exactly the AI will send out any sort of like attack wave. I'm sure if I bother looking into the code, or at least the missions like parameters, you'd be able to tell like exactly when they send waves of guys, but
Yes, acknowledge. Acknowledge.
for now it's just kind of like a panic mode of build whatever you can whenever you can.
Yes, sir.
It's also annoying because they have A-10 strikes.
Moving out. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Ready and waiting. Yes, sir. Reporting. Moving out.
Building. Construction complete. Our base is under attack.
The fact that we have a bunch of guys at the bottom right of the map also means that the A-10s, if going by the one of the posts in the thread, talking about how they basically scan, how the AI scans and targets, it pretty much means that you're never gonna have those guys get attacked. So it's not like they can even like take a hit for you.
Unit report. Moving out.
It's a hero harvester right there.
Waiting order. Right away, sir.
Construction complete. Cancelled. Building. Unit ready.
It just seems like no matter what I want to do, I always get interrupted by the AI.
Reporting.
Just want to build me a war factory, damn it.
Yes, right away, sir.
Unit ready.
Ready and waiting order. Affirmative.
Unit lost. Building.
Yes, sir. Ready and waiting. Roger. Awaiting orders.
The auto attacks don't really, I guess, like the target priority in the game's code doesn't really help all that much. You'll frequently see like guard towers or I guess like turrets as well that that will target just like the wrong unit, quote unquote. So you kind of have to micromanage your own defenses at times.
Yes, moving out. Got it.
Building. On hold.
Another thing I only realized this mission was that you can't sell a refinery if it has a harvester in it.
Building.
It's kind of strange, really. I can't recall if you can repair it either.
Not a problem.
Building. Unit lost.
Waiting order. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Got it. Yes, affirmative. Ready and waiting. Right away, sir. Yes, not a problem.
Sometimes it's just better just to sell something you know you're going to lose anyways.
Coming out. Affirmative. Waiting order. Right away, sir. Reporting. Not a problem. Ready.
Building.
Yes. Yes.
Unit lost. Unit ready. Unit lost.
Got it. Reporting.
Come on, weapons factory.
Unit lost. Building.
Acknowledge. Yes, sir.
Unit lost. On hold.
Reporting. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Waiting. Yes, sir. You got it.
So now that we have the amazing ability to build medium tanks, that's pretty much what I'm going to focus on for the rest of the map.
Affirmative. Reporting. Got it.
Currently, they're just about the strongest thing we have.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If you're not against the AI who can micro like everything they own at the same time, then you stand a really good chance of crushing any infantry that it comes across. Granted, if it's taking too much damage and it gets slowed down, then that doesn't count. So, like, we're at a pretty good advantage if we can just mass about 10 or so medium tanks.
No longer will the world be dominated.
Construction complete.
Secret weapon.
Building.
I'm not sure if we've seen it so far, but you'll notice that for refineries, if a harvester ever queues up, like to basically wait to deposit, it'll always queue up above it.
Moving out. Acknowledged.
It's not like particularly something you can game, but it's important to know because
Construction complete.
depending on how you structure your base or how you try to attack the enemy, you could effectively force the harvester into a worse position.
Vehicle reporting. Awaiting. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Something I recall from Spooky Donut's SSLP of half of this game, it's important to note that because of the age of this game, it was programmed in a way that if you were to scout or move like across certain areas, it would trigger a response from the AI.
Yes, sir.
So sometimes your best bet in a game like this is not to scout at all.
Awaiting orders.
It seems counterintuitive, especially with the emphasis on sight lines and just general map knowledge is more important in more recent games.
Building. Construction complete.
So it kind of takes a little bit of getting used to.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Moving out. Acknowledged. Unit affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Building.
So now we pretty much know where the enemy is going to be harvesting, and once everything's done up
Building.
above, it stands to reason that everybody will probably shift over to the right side of the map.
Building.
I wanted to see if the Nod forces would also get A-10 strikes.
Unit affirmative.
Sadly, you don't. Even though you've pretty much got like all their tech.
Unit acknowledged.
It's kind of one of the reasons why I also don't want to post any information on GDI stuff until we play the GDI campaign.
Acknowledged.
Better when you just
Construction complete.
you can use all their tools rather than learn about it, for something 20 episodes from now.
Vehicle report. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
So again, we have another example of
Yes, sir.
attacking a harvester is really beneficial because it will mess with their ability to get any income. You're destroying Tiberium patches before they ever get to them because the harvester is just that slow.
Unit reporting. Yes, sir.
Also here I make a massive blunder, and it's why if you ever find yourself at a disadvantage, which you kind of will be at times against the AI, they're just better at shooting on the move.
Building.
But
Yes, sir.
if an enemy with the same unit is chasing you,
Vehicle reporting.
you have the same speed,
Vehicle reporting.
and more often than not, the person trying to escape will be slower than the person following.
Moving out.
Construction complete. Building. Unit lost.
Unit report. Vehicle reporting. Moving out.
It's just like a weird quirk of movement and on what tiles, as different tile sets and different terrain basically gives different speeds to different vehicles. It's all tracked in one of the rules files I've found, which is quite elaborate, but it also means that depending on where or how you're trying to escape, you'll be at a massive disadvantage.
Unit affirmative.
And again, since the damaged unit
Unit moving out.
moves slower, it just means that
Vehicle reporting. Moving out.
if you find yourself in these sorts of situations, it's usually better just to trade your unit and do as much damage as you can rather than trying to run away, because it won't really serve you any purpose to run away.
Moving out. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Unable to comply. Building in progress. Unable to comply.
Now, on one hand, one thing I rarely ever do is build a second weapons factory. Same thing with the airstrip. There's just something about it that doesn't make me want to spend the $2,000.
Unit lost. Unit lost.
I figure it has something to do with the fact that, well,
Unit.
getting 2,000
Unit lost.
extra credits and then spending on something that I can't use to attack or defend with,
Unit lost.
kinda, sorta, for me it invalidates the purchase.
Vehicle reporting.
Especially when, at most, you get, I don't know, I want to say only 10% faster. I have to see if there's... I'd have to figure out where the mention is that the speed that you build faster with multiple weapons factories.
Yes, sir. Moving out. Unit dollars. Moving out. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Moving out. Affirmative. Unit affirmative. Yes, sir. Vehicle reporting. Yes,
So that was a pretty good example of shooting while on the move.
knowledge.
The harvester is slower, so you can kind of see it better in this instance.
Yes, sir. Knowledge. Affirmative. Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Construction complete.
Yes, knowledge. Yeah, moving out.
Building.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Knowledge. Yes, sir. Moving out.
So if we didn't have enough
Yep, moving out.
in terms of enemy air forces to worry about, they also have orca bombers, or
Affirmative.
I guess they're just orcas,
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
because they're not called anything else in the manual. But we have to deal with them as well.
Construction complete.
Yes, moving
Building.
out. Unit reporting. Awaiting orders. Moving. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Now I figure I've destroyed quite a few medium tanks. I probably shouldn't have anything to really worry about. And then in comes the advanced guard tower.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Moving out. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Unit.
The advanced guard tower is basically the end game defense, base defense for GDI.
Knowledge. Yes,
It launches 2 rockets. They're rather powerful.
yes, sir. Affirmative.
They'll pretty much like one-shot any infantry.
Lost.
Yes, sir.
And in terms of armor,
Building.
well, if it doesn't miss all of its shots,
Yes, sir.
then and yeah, it's pretty strong.
Unit, yes, sir. Vehicle reporting.
Unit lost. Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes,
So this
sir.
game
Yes, sir.
does accuracy in a kind of weird way, where it's based on your location versus the location of your target.
Moving out. Moving out.
So
Construction complete.
if two units are shooting at each other and the accuracy is off, it will always be off.
Yes, moving out.
Like it'll always land at the same area, like the same cell. But if you move one unit, then that changes the dynamic of how or where those shots go.
Unit reporting. Affirmative.
It's actually rather important, not specifically for like tanks or anything, but when you have
Knowledge.
if you notice that you're having a hard time killing certain units just because you're missing all the time, it's probably a good
Building.
bet just to move just ever so slightly.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Unit reporting. Unit, yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Now, because we have two orcas to worry about, as well as A-10 strikes,
Yes, sir.
and we have GDI tech, it means we don't have anything against air units, which
Yes, sir.
really sucks. Obviously, we have rocket soldiers, but
Moving out.
rocket soldiers fire
Yes, sir.
too slow, move too slow, to ever really be a danger to A-10s. Other than, like, I guess if you had, like, 10
Waiting order. Affirmative.
and made, like, a minefield out of rocket soldiers.
Vehicle reporting.
Unit ready. Building.
Vehicle reporting.
Basically, it's just going to be inefficient. Even against orcas, we'll see how tough it can be to actually take one down.
Waiting knowledge.
Cancelled. Unit ready.
Thankfully, orcas have a really hard time attacking anything that moves. So,
Yes, sir. Moving out.
Unit ready.
sadly, we'll still lose an Abrams.
Reporting.
Medium tank. Whatever.
Yes, sir. Knowledge. Yes, right away, sir. Waiting.
Unit
Yes, sir.
ready.
Ready.
Unit lost.
Roger.
Building.
Awaiting order.
See, the pathfinding kind of screwed me over on that one.
Reporting.
You'd think the medium tank would have gone to the right, as there's no way to cross otherwise.
Building.
But, nope.
Yes, sir.
And a rotating unit is, well, rather slow, so. I guess I should mention that units that rotate to turn, like the medium tank, light tank, so on,
Reporting. Moving out.
most always vehicles,
Yes, sir.
they actually have different rotation speeds based on like which unit they are. I believe it's usually something along the lines of if it's a bigger unit, it's slower to rotate, which obviously makes sense.
Reporting, sir. Yes, sir. Ready and waiting. Moving out, sir. Moving out. Reporting. Roger.
So here's a good example of
Moving out.
how tough it is to actually take out an orca.
Affirmative.
Because the AI is not stupid, so it'll start attacking your rocket soldiers.
Unit knowledge.
And because they shoot rockets, they do splash damage.
Yes, sir.
So you end up having this,
Reporting.
Yeah.
I guess, like, weird dynamic where
Yes, sir. Roger. Yes, sir.
unless you're, like, pre-positioned or pre-spread out, I guess you could scatter as well, but scatter just takes time because rocket soldiers are slow. So unless you, like, prepare all that stuff,
Affirmative.
you're usually going to take a couple of hits to the rocket soldiers.
Yes, sir. Knowledge. Yes, sir. Yes,
Thankfully, for whatever reason, the AI didn't choose to attack the rocket soldiers there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Unit
Now,
reporting.
one thing I don't ever show off, or at least I don't think so, is
Building.
so there's a restriction
Yes,
to
sir. Affirmative.
building anything, right?
Reporting. Yes, sir.
Building buildings, I mean. So
Yes, sir.
buildings can only be built or constructed adjacent to each other. I believe sandbags and like walls, like we see above,
Construction complete.
and so forth, also count within that adjacent like ratio limit.
Yes, sir.
So it's entirely possible to build sandbags to a destination and then just build out your base there. It's still an investment in time and money, but
Moving out.
at least there's a way to kind of distance yourself from a location.
Acknowledge. Move. Yes, sir.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
And while I do admit that it's a good tool to know, and I don't particularly use it,
Moving out. Affirmative.
it exists.
Acknowledge. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, yes,
I don't think I'd really care for doing it on this mission anyways.
yes,
It's not like there's...
yes, sir. You got it.
Like, you could speed up your refinery
Yes, sir.
and your harvesting on the right side, sure, but
Waiting.
still have to build a lot of sandbags to get there.
Moving out. Yes, sir. Reporting. Yes, reporting. Acknowledge.
Unit lost. Unit lost.
And this is how good advanced guard towers are.
Lost.
They just mulch everything.
Lost. Building.
Waiting. Moving out. Moving out. Moving out.
Now, I guess if you want to consider it cheese,
Acknowledge.
there's one way to usually get around base defenses, because the AI doesn't necessarily think about it. It usually kind of just accepts whatever base that's built for it, and will only replace stuff rather than like build outwards.
Unit reporting.
So in a lot of cases like this, it doesn't have any defenses on the right side, which also means that there's nothing for you to destroy and nothing for it to replace.
Yes, yes.
I don't believe the AI ever bothers building new concrete walls and sandbags. So as soon as you destroy them, it's a permanent
Building.
like loss.
Hold. Building.
Which also means that you can sort of, you know, dig your way into an enemy base like this, capture a building unbeknownst to the AI because it never expects it from there, and it doesn't have defenses there to begin with, and then kind of just worm your way in.
Yes, sir. Right away, sir. Waiting. Moving out.
GDI building captured.
Like, say what you want, at least it's efficient.
Yes, yes. Yes, yes. Yes, yes. Unit moving out.
I think I had this happen to me several times where the harvester just stopped refining or gathering anything.
Okay.
Construction complete. Primary building selected.
I'm not sure if I could replicate it though.
Ready.
You got it. Vehicle reporting.
Construction complete. GDI building captured.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Our base is under attack.
Yes, sir.
Unit lost.
Moving out. Vehicle reporting. Yes, sir.
So now I've pissed off the GDI forces, probably because now they don't have a refinery and no way to accumulate money anymore. It also seems that their silos are all empty, so unless I like screw this up several times in a row, probably a good chance I'm gonna win this.
Unit lost.
Reporting. Yeah. Waiting orders. Yes, sir. Yes, knowledge.
Unit ready.
Reporting. Moving out. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
I guess I should also note that depending on how a unit dies, it'll also play a specific animation.
Unit lost.
So like there's more chances for, you know, infantryman to just like explode into blood and gore if he gets blown up by grenades, rather than say if he's shot by a tank, where he'll just like do a cartwheel or something.
GDI building captured.
Knowledge. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Waiting orders. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Another thing I'm not like 100% sure on is that when you capture enemy refineries,
Ready and moving out.
the AI takes it upon itself to choose, I believe, the closest one
Ready and
on its return path. So you kind of have to be careful sometimes so that you don't, you know, suddenly have harvesters going straight into the enemy base when you're just trying to play it like this.
affirmative.
Unit lost.
Knowledge.
GDI building captured.
Knowledge. Got it.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Yes, affirmative. Yes, sir. Unit reporting. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Primary building selected. Building.
Knowledge. Knowledge.
Oh, you'll notice that some of my units are shooting at the war factory, or weapons factory. Sometimes this happens. I'm not quite sure what the mechanics are like regarding it, but sometimes a unit will spawn but not actually leave the weapons factory and just get stuck.
Yes, sir.
Building.
Yes, sir.
Unit lost. Construction complete.
Unit waiting order. Affirmative.
Mission accomplished.
Ready and waiting. Moving out. Yes, sir. Roger. Reporting. Moving out. Moving out. You got it. Yes, sir. Reporting. Got it. Waiting. Got it. Waiting. Affirmative.
Unit
Reporting.
lost.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Reporting. 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 Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Reporting. Yes, affirmative.
Unit
Yes,
lost.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Unit
Acknowledged.
lost.
Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Reporting. Ready and waiting. Ready and waiting.
Unit, your mission is agreed.
Yes, sir. Right away, sir. Yes, sir. Moving out. Yes, sir. You got it. Acknowledged. Moving out. Yes, sir. Moving out. Yes, sir. You got it. Ready and wait. Not a problem. Yes, sir. Moving out. You got it. Yes, sir. Got it. Reporting. Affirmative. Ready and got it. Roger. You got it. Yes, sir. Right away, sir. Moving out. Waiting. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Reporting. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Got it. Ready and waiting. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Moving out. Reporting. Moving out. Acknowledged. Right away, sir. Moving out. Moving out. Moving out. Yes, sir. Roger. Reporting. You
Unit
got it.
lost.
Yes, sir.
Unit
Moving out.
lost.
Reporting. You got it.
Unit lost.
Ready and waiting.
Unit
Yes,
lost.
sir. Got it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Reporting. Right away, sir.
New construction options.
Ready and waiting. Not a problem. Reporting. Moving out. Right away, sir.
Lost. Building.
Ready and waiting.
Unit
Ready
lost.
and waiting. Right away, sir. Yes, sir. You got it. Affirmative. Ready and waiting. Moving out. Reporting. Got it. Ready and waiting. Got it. Moving out. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Right away, sir. Moving out. Moving out. Roger. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You got it. Reporting. Moving out.
New construction options.
Reporting. Okay.
Unit lost.
Reporting. Moving out. Affirmative. Affirmative. Roger. Moving out. Affirmative. 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 Right away. Moving out. Moving out. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Moving out. Moving out.
Your mission is a failure.
Yes, sir. Moving out. Reporting. You got it. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Moving out. Acknowledged. Reporting. Yes, sir. You got it. Right away, sir. Right away, sir. Moving out.
Unit lost.
Reporting. Affirmative. Waiting for affirmative. Yes, sir. Roger. Yes, sir. You got it. Ready and waiting. Reporting. Moving out. Ready and waiting. You got it. Ready and waiting. Affirmative. Reporting. Roger. Ready and waiting. Roger. Moving out. Moving out. Moving out. Moving out. Affirmative. Right away, sir. Reporting. Affirmative. Reporting. Yes, sir. Reporting. You got it. Yes, sir. Reporting. Got it. Waiting. Affirmative. Waiting. Reporting. Moving out. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Waiting. Roger.
New construction options.
Yes, sir.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Roger.
Reinforcements have
Reporting.
arrived.
Yes, sir. Roger. Ready and moving out. Acknowledged. Ready and waiting. Yes, sir. Right away, sir. Ready and waiting. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Moving out. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, moving out. Moving out.
Unit lost.
Reporting. Moving out. Unit affirmative. Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. You got it. Waiting.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit
Waiting. Moving out.
lost.
Moving out.
Unit
Reporting.
lost.
Ready and waiting.
Unit lost.
Ready and right away, sir. Moving out. Affirmative. Reporting. Moving out. You got it. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Moving out. Waiting order.
Building.
Affirmative. Moving out. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged. Reporting.
Unit
Yes,
lost.
sir. Acknowledged. Yes, you
Lost.
got it.